Hi everybody, welcome back to Fun Art. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at the Pink Flamingo. So if you purchased a Fun Art paint kit, you'll get an instruction sheet inside it. You'll also have a transfer and a picture of the Pink Flamingo. So what we're going to do today is have a look at how are we going to build this Pink Flamingo. You can see that it has a portion of sky, some water, some sand, a little beach line here, the flamingo on top, and a little bit of greenery as if there's a palm tree over in the corner. So I'm going to open up my new canvas, and I'm using a Montmartre 12 by 16 canvas. I'll just move this one out of the way. There we go. So the first step is to decide what color is our sky going to be. We're going to need some blue and white, a little bit of red, because red and white make pink. And we've got some yellow ochre for the sand. We have some green and a little bit of black. So that's what's on the palette today. When we make our first decisions, we're going to be looking at the sky first. Now, on this 12 by 16, I'm going to use the top third of the canvas really as my sky. So it can be as much as you like, but about a hand width down. This line is called the horizon line, and that is where the sky meets the ocean. And it needs to be pretty straight. So you can use tape to do that, or you can just use your eye, either or. So we're going to start by loading up our flat brush. Dip it in the water first with, pounce it off and dab it out on your paper towel. Load it up with some white paint. I like to turn it back and forth several times so the paint gets into the bristles. And then I'm going to pick up one corner in blue. And again, I'm only going to be doing about a third of the way down. So I can put this on in long, smooth strokes if I like, or I can do it in short, quick strokes. What I don't want is any globs or blobs, so I just need to blend those out. You can't do it wrong, you'll only do it different, and that's okay because you're the artist. So if I do it in these long, smooth strokes, okay, it's going to be a pretty calm day. If I use short, quick strokes, it will have more movement in it. So just smooth those out. Maybe today it's going to be pretty calm. And I'm going to go a third of the way down. I'm not using a lot of blue, I'm using more white than blue. But you can increase and decrease the value by adding more blue or more white to your brush. I want to make sure that all of my strokes are going across, because we don't want to see the sky up and down unless we're seeing the northern lights. Sometimes there's rays of sunshine that come through that way, but for today it's a beautiful day, so I just want it to be all up and down strokes. Now I'm going to make a nice straight line across there, and that's where my horizon line is going to be. I don't want any globs or blobs, so I'm just smoothing them out. Again, I can't do it wrong, I'll only do it different. Alright, perfect. Now, while that's drying, it's going to take a few minutes. We don't really need to blow it dry because we're working down the canvas, so it has time to dry. We are going to do 2 coats though, so this is the first base coat. Now I'm not washing my brush, but I'm just going to put in the blue. And what I want to do is I want to make sure, I'm going to need to pick up my canvas to do this, that I get a nice straight line for my horizon line. blend it back and forth several times across my canvas. And the idea is that I'm getting a straight line. Now, if it's not exactly perfect, it's okay, it's fun art, not fine art. But you could take a ruler, you can measure it with a ruler. You could also use tape and tape it off. That's another strategy to help get that line. Some of it you won't see because you're going to have your Pink Flamingo on top. So I'm going to use mostly blue and just a little bit of white. Now if I'd like to put some green in this water, I can pick up a bit of that yellow that I have for the sand. And you'll see, I'm going to add it to this blue and white. Because yellow and blue make green, I can get some green tones. Again, it's a pretty calm day on the ocean. I'm just blending back and forth the whole time. No wiggle wiggle, no side to side. This is just back and forth. Get that in, and I'm going to go down until I'm about 1/3 from the bottom of this canvas. And then I'm going to start to put in my beach. So again, it's nice and smooth, it's a beautiful day. And we're just working back and forth. I've chosen on this one to do mostly blue, a little bit of white in it. No globs, no blobs. And when I get down here, I may even want to, I could use chalk or I could use a pencil and just squiggle in that line for my beach line so I know where it is. And I'll just show you. I'm just going to go along. So I don't want to go any further than this line because I need to leave room for my sand. So chalk is a great thing. You could have chalked in the horizon line first using your ruler. We didn't do that, but we could have. We could have chalked in the squiggly line where the ocean is going to meet the sand. I just used a pencil to do it. And I'm just blending back and forth in my ocean. Again, I'm using mostly blue, a little bit of white. I can add some yellow if I want to get green tones. Not today. On this fun art project, I think I'm going to use mostly wood. Now I just want to make sure that's all blended out. No globs, no blobs. Check my sides. And it looks pretty good. So I'm going to wash out my brush really good. And then I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm going to squeeze it out and make sure that there's no paint left in it. And it's pretty dry. Then I'm going to put it back in my white paint. And then I'm going to pick up some of my sand. And I can start to judge how much yellow ochre I need in this to get it to the right color for sand. I always feel like if you use white paint first, then put your color on, it's easier to get the right value. So I'm just going to pick this up. I can actually turn it upside down just to make it a little more convenient for me to work on and for you guys to see. I'm not overly concerned if I get any blue streaks in it because it is where the sand meets the ocean. So no big deal. I'm just going to go up on the chiseled edge, meaning I'm taking my brush from the flat, turning it so it's thin, and that's my chiseled edge. And I'm just doing that where the ocean actually meets the sand. And I'm going to use a little bit more white on my brush here. And there we go. And then we'll just blend that out. Alright, flip it upside down, right side up, I guess, and let's see how we did. So we just need to make sure there's no blobs on this first coat, and that you have good coverage. Looks pretty good. So now, what you're going to do is you need to take your blow dryer, or you can leave it and just let it air dry and come back to it. But I use a blow dryer and just turn it on, but keep it moving the whole time. You don't want to hold it in one spot. And now that it's dry to the touch, I can run my hand over it, no paint on it. So I know that it's okay to go ahead and start my second coat. So I'm going to wash out my brush really good, because last time I had the yellow sand on it, and I'm going to be going back to my beautiful sky. So wash it out great, load it up with white paint, put one corner in the blue, and then we're going to start that sky again. The reason that we do a couple coats is we want to make sure that we have good coverage. We don't want to be seeing any raw canvas through it. And the more layers that you have, you can do more than two. Two is just what I recommend here in class. But the more layers you have, the more beautiful your painting, the more depth it'll have. So don't be afraid to keep working on it. Put as many layers as you like. But I do encourage you to blow it dry in between coats or let it dry completely. Sometimes we work wet on wet, but for this particular kind of painting, if we just keep painting wet on wet, it might pull the paint off instead of put it on. So that's why we need to blow it dry. So I'm getting close here to that horizon line. So I need to be kind of careful. And again, it's another opportunity to straighten it up even more. Just running my brush flat along it. A bit more. If you find that you start to get a bit of drag marks, where it looks like the paint is not super smooth, you just need to either add a bit more water to your brush or a bit more paint. I'll add a little bit more water. Be careful though, because if you add too much, it could run down your painting, and that causes all kinds of extra work. Alright, we've got a pretty nice sky going on. It's a beautiful day. I'm not putting any clouds in this particular sky because my Pink Flamingo is going to be the center of this painting. So I'm going to load up with blue, and again, I'm going to turn my canvas just so I can make sure I can keep that horizon line pretty straight. I'm only doing back and forth across the canvas. I'm going across it. I'm not going up and down because this is the ocean. If you think of it, the waves coming in. Nice little painting like this looks really fantastic out on the porch, in the bathroom, in the kids' room. Maybe your bedroom's done in tropical. back and forth. I've done that, so I can turn it back up. Get it lighter or darker in one area and you didn't expect that or want it, not to worry, blow it dry, add more paint, it's just paint. Paint over it. Alright, so I'm just working my way down, using a little bit of white, but mostly blue. I'm only going across. Not worried about too much about my ocean, because again, the hero of my painting is going to be my Pink Flamingo. I don't want any globs or blobs though. So I'm just making sure that even on the edges, that I don't have globs and blobs. I'm just smoothing it across. Now if I want some ocean waves, I could add a bit of white to it and leave some streaks across the canvas. My day is pretty smooth on the ocean. If you're just beginning to paint, this is these tutorials are great. It's a great way to just learn how to use the paint and not be afraid. So here at Fun Art, we're located in Brockville, Ontario, in the beautiful Thousand Islands. It's a historic city. And I do sell kits for people who would like them. You can also order the kit online on my website at funartpaintparties.ca. Alright, so we're pretty good. I just need to go back to the horizon line because it's not super straight. I'm going to turn my canvas just for a second, guys, just so that I can actually run my brush right down it. There we go. I think it's a little better. We'll see. Now some of it you won't see because of the Pink Flamingo. And then we're just down to the sandy bottom again. So wash out the brush really good. Load it with white. Put on a little bit of the yellow. As much as you want, really. It can be dark or it could be very light sand. If you want it more gray tones, then just instead of using the yellow, use just a teeny tiny bit of black. And that will get you some of those gray tones. If you want a little water on top of your sand here, all you have to do is just put a little bit of blue paint in with your white and yellow and make it a little bit watery and just run it across. Okay. You don't want it super flat. You know, you can put different lumps and bumps here and there by increasing the value or decreasing the value. Alright. Now right along the ocean, usually there's some foam. So we're just going to take our brush again and just put the very end of it in a bit of white paint. The best way to do this is just to go along and set that foam down just along where the ocean is meeting your sand. I'm not using a lot of the brush. I'm really only using the end bristles, and I'm tapping. I'm not brushing. Just tap it in place. There we go. We'll flip it back over. And you can just make up any touches that you want. It's kind of like dry brush technique. Just pounce it on there. You want it a little bit foamier. Bounce it a little bit more. There we go. Now, before we can actually put the Pink Flamingo on, whether we're drawing it on or whether you're transferring it on, either way, doesn't make any difference. You're going to have to blow it dry. All right, everybody, so now that your painting is dry to the touch, you can run your hand over it, and no gloves, no blobs, nothing's coming off of it. You can move to the next step. So we're going to use a transfer today if you have the kit. So what you're going to do is put your transfer on top of your carbon paper. The dark side is going to go towards the canvas. And then we're going to position it wherever you'd like to see it. So I'm going to put him kind of here in the middle. I want his foot in the sand. Right about there. There we go. So now we're going to trace over using a pencil. Don't push too hard. You can use a stylus if you have one. And we want to get all of the main lines of this pelican. Try not to push your hand hard anywhere else, or it could leave marks. Now I'm just going to jaggle this tail a little bit. If I go off the edge, don't worry about it. This is just a guideline. You want to stay, as close as you can, just so you've got nice body structure. But if you do not have a traceable, you can just draw this freehand. This back leg. And we'll get his little foot in. And his foot down here in the sand. Got sharp claws. Okay, now we'll put a few of these feathers in, but only a few. This is really his wing. Let's take it off. Yep, it worked. There he is. I'll just move it closer so you can see what has been transferred on. So the thing about it is, if you're using a transfer, it's okay. It's fine. You're still painting your painting. And what you need to know is that once you start painting on it, you can't see those lines anymore. So that's why that reference photo is really good. If you can have a picture to look at to give you some guideline. All right, now we're going to take a smaller brush because he's not enormous. So I am using a small flat brush. This one's a filbert. It has a little bit of a round end, but even a square flat one, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to base coat him. So I'm going to use, he's pink, I'm going to use white, and I'm going to use red. And I'm just going to figure out what color he's going to be of pink. So I'm going to put it in. I'm not too worried if I go outside my lines a little bit. I want to make sure I cover my lines though. I'm going around his face, and then I'm going to bring this down his neck. And the reason that we need to be working sort of on down strokes is that he has feathers. He's a bird. So the feathers all run in a certain way. We need to be thinking about that. Well, even when we're base coating, it's important to start to get that body structure in place. So you want to make sure you're running your brush. I'm using kind of the chiseled edge, which we have mentioned. So the sharp edge of it. There we go. No globs, no blobs. And the reason I'm doing that is that this is my base coat. I'm not looking for it to be lumpy or anything. I just need it to be pretty smooth so I can make sure that I have his body structure correct. So again, I'm just using red and white. And I get down here to these little tail feathers. I'm definitely going to want to be on my chiseled edge. And I'll just chisel them in. Okay. Go. Now, there is a wing here, right about here. This is his wing. So I'm going to make kind of like the letter C, and then just chisel some of his lower wing feathers on it after. I'll get them all base coated. I think what you can see about this is I'm not using just like one flat pink color. I'm using a combination of the white and red, which gives you different values of pink. And I'm mixing it right pretty much on the canvas, right on top of this little bird. I love pink flamingos. They're actually one of my favorite birds. You check out my website at funartpaintparties.ca. You'll see that I like ocean birds and tropical things. Now here's where I'm going to go back in with a little bit of white and just put some little white feathers. See how nice and easy that went in? Not bad at all. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. So I am going to go back up around his head one other time here. And I don't need to go to the blow dryer because we're working with thin paint in a small area, so it was just drying naturally. What I do want to make sure is that I can't see any of those traceable lines. I'll get rid of them. Paint over them. And once you've painted one of these pink flamingos, you'll be able to try the blue heron. All of these long birds have very similar body structures. All right. Now we're going to look at his legs, and his legs are kind of thin, so I don't want to use a giant brush on them. So I'm going to take a little liner brush, and I'm going to make his legs a light gray color. So using a bit of white, a little bit of black on my palette, I'm just mixing up a bit of gray. And then I'm going to put them in. Now these can be as light or as dark as you want them to be. So maybe, depending on where your shadows are, you can decide how light or how dark. He's got a little knuckle thing there. I'll put that in. I definitely want to cover up any of my pencil lines or my chalk lines if I use chalk. Down on his feet, I'm going to use a little bit of gray, but I'm also going to use a little bit of the sand color because he is standing in the sand. And I'll put a little bit of that sand color here and there, not everywhere. And then this is the leg that is in behind. I hope you're enjoying today's painting. There we go, and again, it's over top of the sand, so I definitely want to put a little bit of that sand color in it. If you wanted his legs to be orange or something, you could certainly do that. This is fun art, not fine art. You can dazzle him up or her up as much as you like. You can't do it wrong, you'll only do it different. Alright, so now he's got some legs, he's got the body, and we need to head up to the beak area. So we're going to paint white up and around where the eye is going to be. And the first part of the beak is going to be white or very light pink, either or. Just this top part. Today it looks like mine's turning out just a light pink, and I'm going to go actually right over the eye. I'm not too worried about it, I'll figure it out. Again, I'm only using this small brush. And I'm using it in quite a few strokes so that I'm getting good coverage. Now the bottom of the beak is black, so I rinse out my brush really well, and I need to be careful with the black because the black is a little bit harder to lift if we make a mistake. So we want to put it in. I'm going to start and I'm going to pull down. I'm using a very tiny liner brush so that I have really good control. There we go. And you may want to blow that dry, or we can just let it sit for a minute. We'll go back to the feathers for a second. Washed off my liner brush. It's pretty clean now. I'm going to take a bit of just pure white, and I'm just going to go in here underneath these feathers and just dab, 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 like literally I'm just dab, dab, dabbing a little bit of paint here and there, just because he's got a little bit of white underneath him. I don't want it everywhere. I want it here and there, not everywhere. I'm going to put a little bit right here where his legs connect. Kind of like he's got little pantaloons on. Alright, now if you get any marks on your canvas, I see I've got a little pink mark here. All I'm going to do is wet my brush, rub it back and forth, and just pat out that mark if I can. There we go. Just lift it up. Get rid of it. And then just blend it out. So now underneath the foot here, I'm going to take a little bit of sand, and I'm just going to clean up any areas that I thought, maybe that's too big, or I didn't really like it. Maybe I don't want to see the whole foot. Maybe the foot is into the sand a little bit. So I can take it and just take a little line and kind of cover his foot, part of it. I don't have to, but I just felt like it might look better if I did. And I can fix anything here that I need to. There we go. That's good. I am going to hit it with the blow dryer just for a second. I want to make sure that the face is dry before I do a second coat. Alright, cleaning off my brush really well. I'm going to go back and wash it off, dry my brush off, and then go back in with a bit more white. Just want to make sure that you can't see the ocean through that white. There we go. And then I can wash my brush again and do the same thing with the black. I do like at least 2 coats. More if you like. Okay. And we're going to actually just let it sit at that for now. So he's missing an eye, but we're also missing the giant palm leaf from up here. So to do that palm leaf, you can take your pencil and just draw a couple lines down. So I'll just bring that closer so you can see it. Just a couple lines. Alright, they're slightly curved and they are facing downward. So we're going to take our liner brush and we're going to put a little bit of green on it. And then we're going to take it and we're going to run that green right down the center of that palm. The thing about these palm leaves is that they have kind of a rib down the center, and this is that rib. Now you'll see many people do palm leaves on YouTube. There is no wrong way to do it. Lots of times we would use a fan brush, but for today, and if you bought the kit, we're going to use just your liner brush. So what you're going to do is take your little liner brush, and you can put some green on it if you want a little bit of the yellow on it, and you're going to start at the tip, and you're going to pull down long, thin strokes. So you do want your paint to be a little bit thinner, so add a tiny bit of water to it. And what happens with that is it'll just make it move faster. And that increases the viscosity of it. Okay, so I'm going to go out from each side of it, of the palm, and bring out those long strokes down. So they're all kind of downward strokes. And it's not just one, it's doing a whole bunch of them. But they're all coming off of the palm itself. And as it goes up, remember it's still down and off of that center. I guess it becomes a bit more out there. Okay, so you're just going to pull them out. Oh, be creative. If you want a little bit of blue in it, I'm going to put some blue in mine. I always like to have a little bit of red in them. Because you know, as the palm leaves die, They can sometimes have different colors on them. Just pull those in. There's no wrong. This is fun art, so use your imagination. Be as creative as you like. You might find it easier just to pick up your canvas and turn it so that you can work on it. I do find it a little bit challenging to work just on the easel. And see how cool that looks? And I did use other colors. I didn't just use green. Yellow and blue make green though, so you know, it just gives you different shades. And we'll go all the way up to the top. And same on the other side. I do like to lift my brush as I pull away. It makes it a little bit more wispy. And we go right over top of ones that you've already done until you get it the way that you want it as the artist. And again, that's something you can work on a lot. You can add and add and add until it's exactly the way you envision your palm leaves. We'll go a little bit more. Don't be afraid to go for top. All in those strokes. Okay, so I'm going to rinse off my brush really good. And we're going to use the other end of it. So not the bristles, the other end. I want you to put it straight in the black paint, tap it out a few times on your palette, and then we're going to put in the eye. That's the best way, just to get like a little tiny circle for an eye. Now the beak itself has a line that goes down to separate the top from the bottom of the beak. So we're going to add a little bit of water to our black, not a lot, just a little bit. We need to make it thinner, and then we're going to roll our liner brush in it. And what I mean by that is literally take the brush and roll the tip in it. Okay, do it several times until you get a nice fine point. And then we're going to start up here. Oops, and we're just going to run that line right down. He also has like a little air hole here. And we can certainly put in a little beak line. Okay. I'll bring that up a little bit forward. There. I hope you enjoyed today's painting of painting a pink flamingo. Join us again for fun art at Fun Art Paint Parties. Check us out at funartpaintparties.ca or go on Facebook at Fun Art Paint Parties. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.